Hey 4-5 Camp Challenge. My name is Miss Kate. Some of you might know me or might have had me in class teaching art at the Lemoyne Center. I've been teaching off and on at LMCC for I think 4 or 5 years now, maybe more. And this summer I'm going to be teaching a creative writing class. Probably can hear the siren outside my window. I live in New York City now. Some of you might not realize that I actually, even though I teach art and I am an artist, I really love writing, and I'm actually in graduate school to learn how to become a better writer right now. Mostly what I write about is art, contemporary art that you might see at a museum, or in New York that might be at a gallery. That writing might look like going to a show and looking at things and forming my opinions about them and writing them in a review. It often involves researching contemporary political and cultural issues and incorporating them into how I talk about a certain artist or a certain art period. So most of the writing I do is about art, but I also write short stories and poems, somewhat for just my own enjoyment, because language and writing is really important to me, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. I just say this all to give you some context and say, even though I often use visual art as a way for us to process what's happening in the world and to process history, that writing is kind of like an art itself. And the kind of writing that we're going to be doing over the next 6 weeks is kind of different than what you probably are used to in school. It doesn't have as many rules. In fact, creative writing often encourages you to break or push at the rules of writing that normally apply in a classroom setting. So this is me at the beginning of the summer telling you that you have permission to write whatever you want, however feels right to you in the process of doing it. I want you to explore form. We'll talk more about what form means in writing. I want you to try new words. Basically, I am not going to be looking for writing that fits a certain rubric, although I'm going to be giving you prompts and things to explore and things to try. So there are going to be some little assignments. They're optional. They are meant to be fun. They're not meant to be homework. And I've made a special email just for our writers group called lmccwriters@gmail.com. And I'm going to leave it in the comments so that you guys, you do not have to do this. Writing can be as private as you want it to be. But if you want feedback on your writing from myself, you can email it to me there, maybe with a parent or another teacher's help if you need it. So that basically I can read where you are in your writing, and I can help kind of maybe make some suggestions or guide you towards, some new possibilities in what you're working on. So basically, creative writing, it's okay to break rules. I would love for you to send me some of your work so that we can talk about it, write about it. Also, I just wanted to say I'm so proud of you guys for making it through a school year that's been really hard and weird. And even though I'm not able to teach you in person this summer, and I'm kind of far away right now, I think about you, and I'm just tremendously proud of you for pushing through. And this summer, maybe we'll bring new opportunities for what your writing practice looks like. Yeah, just be open to it. So that's kind of my introduction. The very first thing that I want to talk about before we dive into 6 weeks of just different topics about what writing can be and what it can do is to start with something you're probably heard of a lot and maybe you're going to roll your eyes at, but is a dictionary. And this is something I didn't even really use enough in my own writing until I got to college and to graduate school. Most of the time, we think we know what words mean. So if I say, I don't know, suitcase or table or refrigerator, oftentimes, especially with nouns, we think we've sort of identified exactly what a word means. But words are kind of slippery. There's often more to them than what meets kind of our common use, what meets the eye. And dictionaries are a really useful way for finding out truths about words, where they come from, who used them first often, and yeah, basically they are a resource that will improve your writing almost instantly if you know how to use them. So, because everything is online already, I'm going to be suggesting a few online resources for dictionaries. One of them that I just found, which is really cool, is called Wordsmith, and they actually have one for kids that I think you guys would really like. I will, by the way, whenever I mention like something specific, like a URL or an email, I'll try to leave it in the comments so that you guys can actually go and check it out. But Wordsmith, Smith spelled S-M-Y-T-H, I'm just going to type it up on my computer right now as I'm recording it, is an online dictionary and thesaurus, but lots of other things. We're going to focus on the dictionary part of it, that organizes words based on topic. So they have one called the human body and the living world, the human mind, everyday life, natural environment, all kinds of different topics about words. And they also have a more traditional segment where words are organized alphabetically. So when you usually, like if you were going to the library or your school library and you picked up an actual physical dictionary, which seems really archaic, that's a good word, archaic, which means really old, and kind of out of use, outdated. If you were to use a physical dictionary, the words would be categorized by their alphabetical order, meaning they'll start with A. Words that start with AA or AB or AC. So like aardvark is one of the earliest words in the dictionary because it starts with AA. That is useful if you know what word you're looking for, right? So if I'm thinking of a word, like I want to look up the word bluebell, which is a kind of flower, I would go to the BL section of the dictionary and I would look for BLU. So I would go in alphabetical order and find what I'm looking for. Sometimes you don't know what word you're looking for and you just want to find something new or maybe something that you forgot about, a word that you forgot about, and to use it in a sentence. This is a long speech about how good writing always uses unexpected words. That doesn't mean that your words have to be big, fancy, over the top. Sometimes the best word is actually a really short or succinct. Succinct means there's no extra fluff about it. Sometimes the best words are actually those kinds of words. And dictionaries can help us there too. What I started to say a little bit earlier is sometimes we think we know what a word means, but it actually doesn't mean that, or it didn't mean that when it was invented. I'll give you an example. So, the word tremendous, I always thought of as meaning like really great, really astounding or well done, or kind of like what you would say when something was wonderful. Oh, that's tremendous. But actually, tremendous means very great in amount, scale, or intensity. So when I'm saying something's tremendous, I'm just saying there's a lot of it. It's really big in amount and intense. So something could be tremendously good or tremendously bad, but tremendous on its own actually doesn't mean what I thought it meant. That's something I just discovered like 2 weeks ago. But there's all sorts of words that we use that we don't necessarily realize what they mean. Besides Wordsmith, which is like more of a, like it's just a dictionary and thesaurus, you can also just Google search words. If you're reading something and you come across a word that you don't know what it means, please always look it up. There's nothing wrong with that. I always look up words. Almost every time I read something, I look up a word so I can find out more about it. So one of your tasks for this week, and something I would love for you to comment, is to find a word that you've never heard before. So a way that you could do that is to go to something like Wordsmith and click on one of the topics. So I think I'm doing it right now on my computer while I'm recording it, but I'll just kind of say I'm going to click on the topic history and culture. And all these little options come off, like myth, religion, education, tradition. I'm going to click on myth and just see what the definition is. A story or group of stories that form part of the traditional knowledge of a society. Myths often use imaginative plots and characters to explain how the world began and why nature and people behave the way they do. Or it means a story, person, or thing that has been made up or imagined and is not real. So even in a dictionary, sometimes there's more than one definition for a word. Myths are things that are stories, are tales that, according to the dictionary, have a traditional element, meaning certain cultures, actually all cultures, create myths about their origins or about their histories. But a myth can also be something that's made up. Like, I could say, if you've ever heard of like something like what would be a legend or a myth in like an urban legend or a wives' tale. So right now I'm trying to think of like a myth about like if I made up a story and I said that like my dog was born out of the eye of a great tree, and he his legs formed from the branches and his fur was formed from leaves, or could be something crazy or not crazy beautiful. All cultures and societies make up myths and use them. And when we say something is a myth, depending on the context of the word, it could mean it is not true, or it could just mean it's a really good story, one that has a lot of weight. Anyways, that's just like one word I looked up, thought of the definition, tried to kind of use it in a sentence, and now that word is like mine to keep. Like I can put that in my pocket and it will be mine from now till forever. That's the really cool thing about language. You get to choose what you use, how you use it, and who it's for. So one of your tasks this week is to look at a dictionary and find a word that you've never heard before. If you comment it and it's a word I've never heard before, you get like major kudos bonus points, because I've heard of a fair amount of words. I've lived longer than you guys, got a lot of books, really love words, but there's tons that I have never even heard of. So I dare you to find one that that you've never heard before and that maybe that I've never heard before. I wanted to read to you a little quote from a book that I really love, love, called All About Love by Bell Hooks. And in the first chapter of this book, Bell Hooks is a really amazing writer and thinker, and she's somebody that probably, I'll just say that she's just really incredible. And I just wanted to share some of her words with you. So, at the first chapter of this book, she's talking about the word love and how we use it, and sometimes we don't really know what it means, or we don't use it in the way that is actually reflective, that actually shows what its definition is. And towards the end of the chapter, she says this: if we were constantly remembering that love is as love does, we would not use the word in a manner that devalues and degrades its meaning. When we are loving, we openly and honestly express care, affection, responsibility, respect, commitment, and trust. Definitions are vital starting points for the imagination. What we cannot imagine cannot come into being. A good definition marks our starting point and lets us know where we want to end up. As we move toward our desired destination, we chart the journey, creating a map. And then she says we need a map to guide us on our journey to love, but we also need a map to guide us on our journey to all sorts of definitions, and a dictionary is the starting place for that. So, remember that definitions are things that we as humans come up with ourselves. They're things that are flexible. They're starting points. And you guys have the so much power in how you use them. So maybe, if you can find a word that you've never heard of before, that's an amazing exercise. Another exercise I would like you to think through is a word that maybe you hear all the time, like love, truth, justice, beauty, or something maybe smaller than that, like house or car. A word that is super familiar to you, and I would like you to look up that word in the dictionary too, and you might be surprised by what you find. Definitions are starting points for your imagination. So, finally, in the last sort of 4 to 5 minutes of our time, I am going to give you a little writing assignment. So, this world, our current moment, is so intense. You guys have lived through a year where we've had a pandemic that has swept across the whole world. We're currently in one of the greatest outpourings of civil rights that I've seen in my lifetime, and one of the biggest movements in the last, 50 to 60 years. I know you guys are young, and it probably seems crazy in some ways, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it feels totally right to you. All that to say, there's no doubt that what we're going through right now is pretty intense. And the amazing thing about writing is writing leaves a trace. So we can read the words of people from history and people from right now that help us understand what's going on in the world. This week, I would love for you to write a letter to your future self. It could be a week from now. It could be your future self 5 years from now. It could be a future self that never happens, or a future self that you want to happen. I'll let you guys interpret whatever that means, right? So I want you to write a letter to your future self about what's going on right now. There's no right or wrong way to do this. This is doesn't have to be long. I would shoot for maybe 7 to 10 sentences. And if you don't want to even use sentences, that's fine with me too. If you just want to write, what's called a fragment, which is part of a sentence, and you're using that intentionally, i.e. on purpose, that's fine with me. This is whatever you want it to look like. For your letter, I want you to consider some of these questions, right? What's going on in the outside world? This could be in Washington, PA. It could be what you see on the news. It could be what's going on in New York City, where I am. It could be what's going on, halfway across the world. Whatever, however you want to shape that. What's going on in the world right now? And try to remember your future self. They might not realize all the things that you're feeling right now. They might kind of forget that. So try to remind them about what's happening outside right now. Then, what's happening inside you right now? What's going on inside of you? Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling hopeful? Are you feeling like you, you want to go to an amusement park? You miss going to the movies? You're really sad because you lost a beloved pet or a friend? I mean, it could be anything. It could be really joyful things. It can also be the harder things. What's going on inside of you? What's going on outside? What's going on inside of you? What's something you see or feel that no one else seems to be paying attention to? One of the beautiful things about writing is it can help you kind of slow down and look at the details. So you have a unique and valuable perspective that no one else has. What right now is that perspective? What's something that you're noticing about this whole, moment, this month, or just even your own home that no one else seems to really be noticing? Your letter and your writing can kind of like bear witness to that thing. And it can be kind of like you're telling a friend. And just more generally, what's something about this moment and your life that you want to remember in 5 or 10 years from now? So your assignment is to write a letter to your future self. Once again, you don't have to share this with me, but if you want feedback on your actual writing, you can send that to our special writer's email, which will be in the comments, lmccwriters@gmail.com. And your final question that you can comment and answer is, what is one word from the dictionary? You can use Wordsmiths or you can use Google. I will link both options in my comment. What is one word that you've never heard of, and what's its definition? That's your summative question for today. I will see you guys next week. I'm thinking about maybe trying to do a Zoom at some point so that we can talk about our writing with each other. But for right now, focus on your letter to yourself, have fun with it, get crazy with it if you want, and feel free to email me not only your writing, but if you have any questions about writing or the prompt at all. Once again, in the comments, give me one word that you've never heard of before and its definition from a dictionary. Okay, take care guys, and see you soon.